Under the fading sun of a dusty desert base, a young woman stood quietly among rows of soldiers, her presence almost invisible to the untrained eye, her uniform blending seamlessly into the shadows. She had no rank stitched onto her chest, no medals gleaming proudly on her shoulders, no name tag to announce her identity, and yet she carried a weight of experience heavier than most of those decorated men. Her story began long before that moment when a hardened Navy SEAL commander would raise his hand in a rare gesture of respect. She was not born into a military family, nor did she ever imagine her life would be shaped by the crack of rifles and the silence of night operations. She had grown up in a small town, raised by a father who taught her how to hunt, track, and respect the land, and by a mother who instilled patience, resilience, and the unshakable discipline of silence. From the age of 10, her eye was steady, her breath calm, and her hands sure as she lined up targets in the woods with nothing more than an old rifle. What began as survival skills in the wilderness evolved into a craft that would one day make her one of the most feared snipers on the battlefield. Her journey into the covert world started when war touched her homeland. Villages were burned, innocents killed, and homes reduced to ashes. She could not stand idle. With no official enlistment papers, she slipped into the shadows of conflict, first aiding civilians, then passing intelligence to resistance fighters, and finally picking up the rifle to defend those who could not defend themselves. Each mission was unrecorded, each kill unacknowledged, each night spent waiting in the cold a reminder that she was invisible to the world. Yet the results of her precision were impossible to ignore. Enemy convoys halted mysteriously. Commanders fell before orders could be given. A wave of fear spread among hostile forces who whispered of a ghost sniper, unseen and untouchable. Her weapon had no name etched into it, but her legend carried weight. When she was finally discovered by a group of U.S. Navy SEALs on a joint operation, they did not find an ordinary civilian. They found a woman lying prone on a ridge, her eye fixed on a scope, calculating wind, distance, and time with the ease of breathing. She had already eliminated 3 targets that had pinned down the SEALs. Her intervention turned the tide of an ambush that could have claimed dozens of American lives. At first, disbelief ran through the ranks. Who was she? Where had she come from? Why was she here? The SEAL commander approached, his battle-hardened face unreadable, and she simply lowered her rifle, dusted the dirt from her sleeves, and met his eyes with calm defiance. No salute, no introduction, no explanation, just the quiet presence of someone who had seen too much and carried it all in silence. In the weeks that followed, she operated alongside the SEALs, not because she was ordered to, but because the mission demanded it. She moved like a shadow through war-torn streets, her instinct sharper than any briefing, her aim more precise than the most advanced technology. She spoke little, often disappearing after missions, leaving the SEALs to wonder if she was flesh and blood or some phantom stitched into the chaos of war. They learned quickly that when she was watching over them, no one fell. Her bullets cut down threats before they even knew they were exposed. Soldiers whispered that she could feel the battlefield, sense danger in the air, and that no enemy sniper could ever outmatch her patience. Her legend grew, but she never sought recognition. She refused offers of official enlistment, denied all attempts to put her on payroll, and never revealed her true name. To her, the rifle was not a path to glory but a burden, a responsibility she carried for those who had no voice. She fought not for flags or medals but for the unspoken promise that the innocent deserved protection. In the darkest nights, she sat alone on rooftops, staring at the stars, her mind heavy with the faces of those she could not save. War had carved scars into her soul that no one could see, and yet she carried them with the same silent strength she carried her rifle. The day came when the mission ended, the warfront shifted, and the SEALs prepared to withdraw. As they lined up on the dusty airstrip, engines roaring in the distance, the commander walked toward her. She stood apart, as always, a nameless figure with a weapon slung across her back. The men looked on, wondering what would be said, but the commander simply stopped in front of her. He studied her for a moment, the weight of his years in combat reflected in his eyes, then raised his hand to his brow and gave her a salute reserved only for equals, for those whose courage and sacrifice needed no ceremony. It was a moment that froze in the silence of the desert wind. She did not return the salute. She only nodded once, turned away, and disappeared into the dust, leaving behind a legacy of whispered stories and a single memory that those men would carry for the rest of their lives. The nameless sniper, the woman who fought without rank, without recognition, yet earned the salute of a SEAL commander. Her story lives not in official records, but in the respect of those who saw her in action. And somewhere in the world, she still walks silently, rifle in hand, carrying her own war far away from the eyes of history.